company. It's a feeling I never knew could be. We're talking about nothing, but baby, don't you see? It's 'cause I'm feeling easy.
No. More power. Give it more
company. Easy in your company. Easy in your company.
Three 475.
Yes, Kenny is here, but he's busy at the moment. What do you want, Mr. Lockhead?
I want to speak to Kenny.
Well, you can't speak to him. He's busy doing his pre-match exercises. Won't it wait until he gets to the ground?
No, it won't bloody wait. Get him to rest home before I lose my temper.
Well, of all the... How dare you speak to a lady like that? You haven't got me under contract, you know. Call yourself a manager. You couldn't manage a plate of Welks, never mind a football team. Now, will you please get off this line before I say something I might be sorry for? Peasant.
Who was that on the phone, Barbs?
Well, you might know, Brian Clough's only rival.
What do you want?
I don't know. Well, I do know, but I don't tell him. Fancy ringing up at 10 to 12 on a Saturday morning when he knows we'd be in the middle of your toning up exercises.
Well, the boss doesn't believe in training just before a game.
He doesn't believe in anything that'll win matches. I sometimes wonder whether he believes in playing football. What are you chewing?
Oh, it's only a lump of cheese.
Well, spit it out! Spit it out! Here, use some of these.
Well, Barbara, it's only New Zealand cheddar.
I don't care if it's Italian polony. Get it out of your mouth. Where's the sense in that, eh? We're trying to tone you up, not fatten you up. How many times have I told you you should never nibble after physical exertion? One of the worst things you can do. It takes your tummy by surprise.
Well, nothing to surprise my tummy after jogging it up and down like I've just done.
Now, come on, Kenny, lie down and we'll get your muscles relaxed.
Oh, now, Barbara, they are relaxed, honest.
Kenny, will you please lie down?
Oh.
We've got to get all the tensions out of your body. I could tell you were on edge at breakfast. You kept pushing your scrambled eggs up the side of your plate and running your toast offside.
It's the big day today, isn't it, home to City? They beat us 3-1 last year.
And no wonder with the team he picked. I think he must use a hat pin. Fancy picking George Keeley to play on the right wing. 2 left feet and couldn't run up a coal bill. Well, it beats me why they keep Lockhead on as a manager. They should have had him on the turnstile ages ago.
Steady on, Barbara. I've got to kick a ball with that.
Are you still getting a twinge in your ankle?
Only when you half yank it out of its socket.
Oh, well, we better have some liniment on that. Turn over.
No, Barbara, not the liniment, not again.
Now, why not?
Well, it's very embarrassing for me going into that dressing room. All the lads sitting there with their hairspray and aftershave on. They don't take kindly to me stinking the place out with horse oils.
Fairies, the lot of them. No wonder it's like a love-in every time someone scores a goal. Now, come on, Kenny, let's have your face downwards. You're losing your body temperature.
Oh. Hey, Barbara, if the boss didn't say what he wanted, why did he ring?
Well, it's his hobby, isn't it? Being rude to me. He can't start his day until he's given me an earful.
Well, it's only because you keep undermining his strategy.
Is that what he's told you?
He's always telling me. He says he'll be wanting a seat on the trainer's bench next.
Oh, I shall hit him. I shall. Here am I, dedicating my life to making you the star striker in the league. And he has the cheek to talk about strategy. A man who came up with a 3-5-3 system and forgot to count the goalie.
Now, Barbara, that was never proved.
Well, you just tell me this. Would you have scored 2 goals last Saturday if I hadn't have stopped you running back to help the defence?
No, Barbara, I don't suppose I would have.
Oh, it was sticking out a mile. All you had to do was to stay up and wait for the right breaks, and they were sitting ducks. And even Barry Lennox got one in at the finish, and he hasn't been out of his own half for the last 3 matches.
No, Barbara, look. Nobody knows better than I do what a power of good you're doing my football, but if you could just start being nice to the boss. I mean, what would it cost?
Blood. He's arrogant, he's abusive, he's conceited. And those are his good points.
Now, look, Barbie, he is the boss, and we have got to have faith in him.
Go on, then. Amaze me. What's his brilliant strategy for beating City this afternoon?
Ah, well, you see, he wants me to stay deep, waiting for through balls, and then I can draw the defence away from Georgie Chandler.
Georgie Chandler?
Yeah, and then Georgie can run in at the far post when I bend it back.
Georgie Chandler?
Yeah.
He couldn't score a goal if you left him on at the interval. Now listen, Kenny. If you get any through balls, you hang on to them. And let Georgie Chandler draw the defence. And let's hope he's got a pencil and paper, because that's the only way he knows.
Now, Barbara, I can't go against the boss's instructions.
Kenny, have I ever advised you to do anything that wasn't for the good of the team?
No, Barbara, you never have.
Well, you listen to me and don't worry. When they blow full time, Lockhead will be the first one to rush up and shower you with kisses.
Do you really think so?
I'm certain, the big wet Nelly. Now, go on, go up. Have a nice hot bath and be sure to use plenty of that brine powder. Then when you come down, you can have a nice hot mug of beef tea while you're watching Brian Moore making it all sound simple.
Thanks, Barbara. I don't know what I'd do without you.
It's all right, Kenny. I'll see to that. Well, Mr. Lockhead himself. Do come in. Are you feeling better?
I hope you realise, Mrs. Norton, that you've caused me to delay a very important meeting with my club chairman.
Well, no, I didn't actually. But perhaps it's just as well. Because if you'd forgotten yourself and spoke to him like you spoke to me on the phone, you could have been looking for work tomorrow. Now, what can I do for you, Mr.
Nothing
Lockhead?
at all, thank you very much.
Oh, well, that will be a labour of love. Just a social call, is it?
It's a very urgent business call, Mrs. Norton. I'm here to see Kenny.
Well, isn't it a pity he isn't here to see you? He's in the bath at the moment.
Upstairs, is it?
Yes, why do you ask?
Because I want to see him. Now. This minute.
Well, you can't, can you? He's in the bath.
Look, Mrs. Norton, this may come as a bit of a shock to you. But if you're worried about me seeing him naked, I have probably seen him without clothes on more times than you have.
And that's debatable. But you certainly haven't seen him naked in this house, Mr. Lockhead. And I give you my word, you're not going to start now.
What is it about you that gets my flaming goat?
I don't know, but in a funny sort of way, I'm quite proud of it.
Now listen, you.
What are you saying, Mr. Lockhead?
I'm here to discuss a very important matter with your husband, which is vitally urgent. I must see him. I must speak to him. Even if I have to conduct a conversation on two sides of a keyhole. Now, am I getting through to you?
I should think you're getting through to next door but one. Now, if you'll just simmer down, Mr. Lockhead, and follow me, I'll do what I can to help you. Would you like a drink, Mr. Lockhead, or is it a bit early in the day for drowning your sorrows?
I'll need to find a brewery to drown my sorrows.
Well, let me give you something to tide you over.
Well, a small scotch, then. Just to prove that there's no lack of goodwill on my part.
Anything with it?
You can show it the soda siphon.
Has it seen enough?
I should think it's sick of the sight of it. Thank you. Cheers. God, may the Scots forgive you.
Now then, what's on your mind?
Right. City have made us an offer.
Why, what are they going to do? Play blindfolded?
For your husband, Mrs. Norton, for your husband. They have offered £60,000, and in a nutshell, we need the money. You've gone very quiet, Mrs. Norton. Is something the matter?
Are you trying to tell me that the club is prepared to say goodbye to the one man who's propping the whole team up?
Oh, no. No, I'm staying. Kenny's the one they're after. Now, I know you and I have had our differences, Mrs. Norton, but I want your cooperation over this. Now, you just think of it. For a start, Kenny would cop for £3,000 from the transfer fee, and he's going to a very good club. Well, I mean, they're higher up in the league than we are.
Everybody's higher up in the league than we are. We've been bouncing off the bottom like a lead balloon.
Right then, so we're in agreement. All we have to do is get Kenny to play a blinder this afternoon, and those papers are as good as signed. Now, what do you think?
I think it's a con.
Well, strangely enough, that's what I thought myself when Frank Gallagher rang me last night. But it's true enough. They want him. In fact, Frank has laid on a meal at the Mitre tonight for us all so that we can do a deal. That's why I want Kenny to pull out all the stops for today's game, because there's still time to up the ante. We could get it up to 65. Well, I mean, I'm no mug at negotiating.
You must be out of your mind.
No, I tell you, when it comes to fixing a fee, there's none better. I mean, well, I got £5,000 for young Lesdine last year. He was hopeless.
That was your opinion. They've just offered him that a week to play at Benfica.
Well, anyway, what I'm saying is I've left it room for manoeuvre. Nothing is finally settled. And of course, naturally, I had to give you the chance to say what you thought.
Right then, I'll tell you. He's not going.
Now, it's a pity you know that we're in the red. Kenny is one of my best. I beg your pardon?
I said he's not going.
Not going?
He's very happy where he is, and I am too, as it happens.
Not going?
Will you stop saying not going? It sounds as if you're knocking at dominoes.
But Mrs. Norton, Barbara, darling. You've not considered what you're turning down?
Yes, I have. All the aggro of moving for a kick-off and leaving this house just when I've got it all to me fancy. I had enough of that 3 years ago when we left Tranmere Rovers. In any case, I couldn't leave me mother.
I'll take your darling old mother with you. Tell you what, I'll try and negotiate a house for you. How's that?
You, Mr. Lockhead, couldn't negotiate a bend in the road. Now, you came here with a proposition and you've got your answer, so will you please go?
Well, aren't you even going to find out what Kenny thinks about it?
Yes, I'll speak to Kenny about it, on the strict understanding that you don't breathe a word of this to him until after the match.
And if he says he's willing to make the move?
Well, he can move. But he'll go without me, I'm staying.
Oh, if only the lad had brains.
Now, remember, Mr. Lockhead, not a word of this to Kenny until after the match. You leave that to me.
Well, will you be sure to tell him to make that Parker's own this afternoon? I want to see Frank Gallagher's eyes sticking out like chapel hat pegs.
He'll get the shock of his life, and that's a promise.
Oh, you can't say fairer than that. Oh, incidentally, if you should be sitting in your usual seat this afternoon, will you stop lobbing rude notes into the trainer's dugout?
So you know where I sit then?
Not more than that. When they start chanting Lockhead, the blockhead, I know who sets them going.
Well, how's the bath, Barbie? Is that the boss?
It's all right, Pet, he's just gone. There's nothing important.
What on me gammy ankle?
Oh, I'm sorry, Pet. Did I catch you?
Oh, I'll be running on with a limp now, you watch.
Kenny? I see that Mr. Cherrington's refereeing the match today.
Oh, no, not him again.
Isn't he the one that sent you off last season for showing dissent?
He's never off my back. He doesn't just follow me about, he races me for the ball.
You know, I often wonder, what do footballers say to referees that make them get sent off the field?
Do you want me to tell you the actual words?
Oh, no, love. I want you to say them to Mr. Cherrington this afternoon.
Is he in your company? Is he in your company? Is he in your company?
Brilliant, boss. Mr. Gallagher. Well, I thought the lads would have me on at first, but then when Jimmy Beattie said, I assure you're in the right dressing room.
Oh, that caused a bit of a twitch in your jockstrap, eh?
Where's the loot, Kenny? I'm bursting for one.
Through there, Mr. Gallagher, first on the left.
Thank you.
There's affluence for you, Frank. One on every floor.
Come in, boss, come in.
Oh, yes, of course.
Good evening.
Here she is. Here's the one that's made it all possible.
Hello, Barbara, my love. How nice to see you looking so lovely. Well, now, aren't you proud of him?
Aren't I always?
I haven't had time to tell her yet, boss. She hasn't heard the good news. Barbara, we've made it. They want me to sign for City. Isn't that fantastic?
Oh, now that is fantastic.
And the money. You haven't heard about the money yet.
We've still got a bit of bargaining to do. And we're not going to stand in his way, dear. The chairman said, didn't he, Kenny?
If only you could have been in that boardroom after the match.
Yes, if only.
We had the sherry bottle out and everything. And the chairman said some smashing things. We're not going to stand in your way, up to you to decide. Didn't he, Mr. Lockhead?
Oh, entirely in your hands, Kenny. It's your career.
And Mr. Gallagher wanted to take us to the Mitre for a meal, but I said, no, I must get home to my Barbie. She's worked hard for this.
What's a lifetime's blood, sweat and tears?
Here's Frank now. Frank, come and say hello to the lovely Barbara.
Mrs. Norton. Well, now I know where Kenny gets his inspiration.
Well, that and my weekly pep talk.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Gallagher. Do sit down.
Well, were you at the match this afternoon, then?
Yes. I'm sorry we had to let you take a point off us.
We were robbed.
Well, what do you expect when you leave the back door open?
Yes, all right, I got your note.
Now, I think that 2-2 was a fair result.
What about this young man of yours, then? Made one, scored one, you must have been very thrilled.
He would have scored half a dozen more if he would have had his share of the ball.
My very words at half-time. Kenny, what did I say when I walked into that dressing room? I said, get those passes through to Norton. Oh, words to that effect.
So you got my other note then, did you?
Yes. No, I think this calls for a drink. Can I be the barman?
Oh, do make yourself at home, won't you?
Well, shall we get down to business, then?
Yeah. What do you think, Barbie? I mean, I'm mad keen for myself, but I must have your blessing before I sign.
Well, I really don't know what to say, because this is so sudden. You see, Mr. Gallagher, Kenny and I haven't had a chance to discuss it.
Valid point. You ought to talk it over with your missus, Kenny.
Well, would you like to have a quiet natter now? Would you like Frank and I to take a walk around the block?
Would you excuse us for a few minutes, Mr. Gallagher?
Certainly.
Sit down.
At the table?
Yes.
Well, we can't eat while they're still here.
Kenny, I am going to ask you one question. Which would you rather be? A big fish in a little sea, or a little fish in a big sea?
Well, to be honest, I don't think I like to be a fish at all. What are you getting at?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm getting at. While you're with your present club, you're number one.
No, number 10, love. I've had it on me back all afternoon.
I didn't mean that. I'm talking about your status in the club. You're head and shoulders above the rest.
Oh, no. I mean, look how many corners I've nodded in.
You're their star player, Kenny. Now, the point is, if you go through with this transfer, you'll be one of many. In fact, you could spend the next couple of months on the substitutes bench.
You're joking.
I know Frank Gallagher's tactics. If he's no injuries, his first team picks itself. You could spend most of next season in the reserves.
You wouldn't stand for that, would you?
Kenny, you're their star player. What you were doing out there with your feet today, Noriev would say was impossible.
Who does he play for?
He's a ballet dancer.
Oh, well, doing it without a ball, that's no test.
But don't you see where I'm getting at? While you're number one, you'll be noticed. I mean, Don really can't wander around forever with his eyes shut.
Hey, you don't really think I could make the England squad, do you?
Not if you can't be sure of a place in your own team.
Well, if we could get an assurance from Mr. Gallagher, and now's the time, isn't it? I mean, before we sign anything.
Look, will you let me have a word with him? And will you stand by whatever I decide?
Yeah, of course I will, Pet. I mean, you're my guiding light. I'd be nothing without you.
Right. Well, you stay here and keep an eye on those carrots. Make sure they don't boil over.
Right, love.
Which is only reasonable. Oh, Barbara, I have just been saying no house, no deal. I'm sorry, Frank, but this lady's happiness is very important to me.
Well, we'll talk about it later, eh? Let's get the agreement signed in principle first, and then we can discuss the details later.
Right, then, let's get down to cases.
Right. Where's Kenny?
He's watching the carrots.
He's what, Mrs. Norton?
He's watching the carrots.
Nothing wrong with his eyesight, is there?
He's making sure that the pan doesn't boil over.
Oh, you had me worried there for a minute.
Mr. Gallagher, can I ask you a question?
Certainly, go ahead, ask anything you like.
Well, who will Mike Kenny be replacing in your team?
Sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
Well, I'll put it another way then. Who are you going to drop?
Well, I hadn't planned on dropping anybody at the moment.
But won't you be forced to? I don't think they let you play with 12.
Mrs. Norton, I don't think we run football teams in the way that you quite imagine.
Oh, don't you?
Oh, no, I mean, in my first team squad, there could be 13 or even 14 players.
But you can only play 11 of them.
Well, as you say, I mean, even some of these referees can count, yes. But the point is that you don't put everything in the shop window that you've got in the shop.
No, that's how things get left on shelves.
Would anyone fancy another drink?
Yes, I think I would. Thank you, Joe. Now, Mrs. Norton, let me answer your question in this way.
No, it's all right, Mr. Gallagher. I think you've answered it. Will Kenny be taking penalties?
Sorry.
Well, assuming he's picked to play in your team, will Mike Kenny be taking your penalties?
Oh, he might. Oh, he's very good at it. I mean, he took one against us earlier on in the season. We're still repairing the net.
Well, I couldn't agree to that.
You couldn't?
No, I'd have to have that made very clear in the contract. Penalties at players' discretion. That's how we've got it with you, isn't it, Mr. Lockhead?
Well, yes, we do have a sort of a gentleman's agreement. I hope that's all right for you. I haven't put too much soda in it.
Mr. Lockhead, it's not a gentleman's agreement. It's a clause in the contract. I was there when our solicitor got you to initial it. In fact, I can remember some of the words you used at the time.
Yes. Yes, well, it was in our mutual interest. Taking penalties seemed to upset the rest of his game. Never seemed to relax.
He couldn't sleep, never mind relax. I used to have murders in bed with him. You see, he kept on having this dream that he was at Wembley facing Ray Clements. And every single time, he lobbed it over the bar. Well, he used to tire me out, getting the hot water bottle down from on top of the wall. So you see, Mr. Gallagher, I'd have to have penalties at players' discretion.
Well, I should have to clear anything like that, of course, with my chairman.
Can we talk about the captaincy?
Yes, if you think it's going to get us anywhere. Well, what do you want to know?
Well, how soon will you be letting Kenny take over?
This is getting ridiculous. I'm afraid I don't run my football team on those lines, Mrs. Norton. But if that's the sort of relationship that Jim Lockhead has with his players, well, that would account for a lot.
What do you mean by that remark?
Well, all this bickering that goes on. I mean, there's a union meeting every time you take a throw-in.
Bickering? What are you talking about? That's enthusiasm.
They're the most undisciplined team in the league, and you know it. No sportsmanship, no self-restraint. Why, there's nearly a punch-up every time they get dispossessed.
Now, just a minute. Don't you talk to me about discipline. I've never seen a sloppier-looking lot than yours. They ran out of that tunnel this afternoon like a bunch of ditty men.
Well, at least they didn't spend the next 90 minutes tackling from behind. Half my lads left the field with no ankles.
That's enough. Come on, outside.
Why, what'll you do?
I'll soon show you what I'll do.
What you do?
Yes, what I'll do.
Excuse me, Barbie.
Yes, Kenny.
I think these carrots are done.
Oh, good. Well, can you drain them and put them in that basin I've got warming in the oven?
Yes, all right, Pet.
Well, come on then. Are you going to take back that slander on my team, or am I going to have to knock it out of you?
I'd so like to see you try.
Plenty of room outside. Come on.
Go on, get up. Come on. Open that door.
Oi! Will you keep off me flower beds? I've just planted tulip bulbs.
Keep off the tulip bulbs. All right.
Outside, I'll teach you a lesson.
I suppose you would hear all that.
Every word? Who do you think's going to win the fight?
Well, we are.
Feeling easy every time you're with me. Yes, I am. It's a feeling that suddenly the future's